And in the upper left of what would have been a team kill at one point. Last year, this would have been a team kill. It's PattyMac.
And his opponent spawning down in the bottom right for the Platinum Heroes. It is the Rising Star Vindicta. I gotta say, looking at Vindicta's recent form, because I do agree with you, we were talking about it a little bit on the break, his form has been solid recently. I am surprised. I am surprised that he is in this 1 and 2 position. I would not have expected that.
No, and the other interesting thing as well is, I talked about how PattyMac and Vindicta have played each other a lot, but in officials, they haven't. They've played 7 total series over the course of their Legacy of the Void careers, which is not the largest. I mean, we saw, what was it, Hellraiser and Bly played each other like 40 times in the since 2015, or yeah, since Legacy of the Void came out. The fact that PattyMac again and PattyMac and Vindicta again, these players who are so. I don't know if storied is the right word, but like just so intrinsically North American. And then they play in all these different events. NA Apprentice, ESL Masters, DreamHack Masters, things like that. The fact that they've only ran into each other in 7 series is kind of surprising to me, actually.
Yeah, it's a little bit unexpected. I would have assumed they would have run into one another more frequently, but not the case. Not the case. I was gonna say, PattyMac, that pylon, he doesn't need that. Okay, so I guess it is fair to say that he is a little bit rusty right now, because something like building an extra pylon when you don't need it is definitely an indication that he's not feeling super confident in general. Vindicta, by the way, does check and make sure, hey, like you don't have any proxy stargates, any weirdness, do you? And I just like that he's doing the diligence there. That's good.
No, Steadfast. This is the we talked about the over analysis of how Blight plays. We're gonna do that in a second here, but there's reason. PattyMac, he was spending so much time in the lobby talking about how he's not confident, right? About how Vindicta, take it easy on me, whatever. And clearly, a large portion of that is PattyMac is just, he's a funny guy. He's a jokester, and that's his type of humor. But if we're going to go deep into this, and we're going to talk about the mind games for a second, telling your opponent that you're not comfortable, telling them that you're worried about how the game goes, it means that they're going to be very worried, especially someone like PattyMac, who has come up with so many different builds, and kind of like the NA Dolan, or the Protoss Dolan of NA. You are going to look to scout on the map more. You're going to spend SCV time. You're going to spend a little bit of money to make sure you're not getting proxied, and nothing crazy is going to happen. And obviously, PattyMac is not proxying, and he's not doing that. So this may have just been what Vindicta would do anyways, but I choose to believe it was the product of the anti-smack talk.
It could be. Definitely something I'm sure that was on his mind. We are going to see the Oracle actually getting into the natural expansion. Ooh. Vindicta saw the Stargate and saw that it wasn't being utilized. So not prepared, not expecting this Oracle, and it grabs 4 SCVs. That's actually significant damage in the early stage, especially since it is just the single Oracle. And we're seeing a build that you and I are very familiar with. Leading into IEM Katowice 2022, Zest had come up with this single Oracle, very quick blink 3-gate into a 3rd Nexus, which was a really promising opener and gives you a lot of control. PattyMac, he's going back to that. He's busting that out, and it's a really solid way to play, but it does require extremely tight mechanics, extremely strong mechanics.
Yeah, Steadfast, the problem is you talked about this build, right? That Zest made popular, that we thought was going to dominate PvP going into Katowice 2022. Do you know why we did? Do you remember why that build didn't dominate IEM Katowice 2022 in this matchup?
Oh, I'm very familiar. Yeah, it was the Ryung. Ryung was the one who was the trendsetter in that situation.
Do you want to talk about how we're effectively seeing a variant of that Ryung build right now with the double barracks? You get the starport, then you get the 3rd rack stim on the way right now. This is 2 years ago, and unfortunately for PattyMac, even though we have to give him credit, he did get a lot of damage with that Oracle that you never get. But on the balance of just the builds by themselves, this is what Vindicta's build was designed to deal with.
I mean, it is going to be that 3 racks timing, but this will be a little bit different. He didn't go for he didn't go for the slow starport with this delayed starport, but he is going to slip in with this Widowmine drop. Amazingly, only hits 2 probes on that third base. Now there is action on the other side of the map, and that is why PattyMac is not responding this time. Ooh. Well, he actually loses 6 probes in total, but the aggression coming on in is starting to find some really great value. PattyMac getting some great pickoffs. Will be forced to blink away. Oh, blink out, please. Please, hello? PattyMac? That was very weird. He stayed, lost a couple of extra stalkers, but ultimately not the end of the world. Still not exactly ideal. PattyMac? Yeah, Actually, no, I think this is still reasonably even here. What is the gateway count? We got 5 gateways. We do need 3 more gateways at minimum. Oh, Widowmine? Okay, that's what he was distracted by. Widowmine. Ooh, gonna retarget here. Got to pull that probe away, but no, in fact, he's just gonna lose it to bait out the shot. Still, that's a lot of lost mining time that probably shouldn't have been able to get as much value as it did, that Widowmine.
And by the way, that was a good call about the starport. I had in my head that starport was later than it was. But talking about 3 racks play in general, I don't know if you pay attention to Vindicta's YouTube channel at all, but he's recently put out like 3 or 4 videos specifically about how to... you don't want to lose that. Oracle, though, he's not going to get it. Light units, not armored. But anyway, Vindicta has put out several videos now about how to play how to 3 racks in TVP and all the different variants and opportunities that you have as Raven just continues to flirt with taking damage. But if there's a build that Vindicta is going to be comfortable with, again, he's put together several videos about how this works.
Oh, yeah, Vindicta definitely knows what he's doing. Widowmine, ooh, does get a solid shot. Kills one of those stalkers, gets the connection on a few more with the splash damage. But Vindicta coming in on on a position that, I mean, might let him get a cyber core, but he's got to be a little bit careful. Nice job with the observer here. He is able to snipe down this Widowmine. He should probably move this away because there is a Raven, but Vindicta not going to go after that. Meanwhile, the drop in the main base will go after the shield battery. Medevac is going to get targeted down. PattyMac needs a couple more units, but he's going to go for the army break and will be able to take down the siege tank. I think we need to see a recall in the main, but there's no energy for it. PattyMac, he's got to get back in position to deal with this.
I love that scan, too. He just wants to make sure he knows what's happening. And these stalkers, they can't all get over. So at the end of the day, right, what did Vindicta get? He got a couple probes, not a ton. He gets the Oracle. Actually, no, that was earlier on. He gets a couple stalkers, but more importantly, he gets a pylon as this Widowmine. Hey, he gets a couple more probes. So that felt like it should have gotten a lot steadfast. And it's the follow-up drop that really seems like it might get a little bit more as that pylon is killed once again. But if we just look at how many workers died and just how much army units died, etc., Vindicta did not get quite as much as we expected there.
No, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, certainly. PattyMac is definitely in a position that is messy. He needs to clean up a lot of things, and he is doing it now. He's repowering these gateways. He will lose track of these medevacs, at least initially. Oh, Vindicta, I think he's showing this medevac to make PattyMac think that this medevac has been killed. Does PattyMac move the stalkers away? No, okay. No, he's not going to be able to do so. But the Widowmine drop on the left side. Oh, it is going to burrow up.
Oh. And the second one. Oh. Granted, that didn't get probes, but it did get a couple zealots. And there's another Widowmine here. You know, sometimes you got those games. PattyMac was not fooled by the fancy play. Nice point out. Nice call this steadfast. Sometimes you have these games. You know, your things are going wrong, and then the Widowmines, they just start hitting and they don't stop hitting. And it really does take game 2 for you to really stabilize. At this point, this is 24 dead probes. Really not a lot else. I mean, 9 stalkers going down is never ideal. But Vindicta's put himself in a wonderful economic position at this point. He cancels the 4th base. He gets all this damage done. But PattyMac's army, right? It's got 2 Colossus. It's got a ton of charge lots. It has +1. It's actually up in the army supply compared to what the Terran has. And sometimes we see breaks happen like this. Actually, there are no tanks here, so EMPs, they're on the army, but they don't hit that well steadfast. And with 3 Colossus, you have the Stalkers, they can get the Raven. Great shutdown, ninja shutdown, but still there are 2 Colossus here. Zealots get on top of things. SCVs are pulled, but they're not tanking. Even still, though, the army seems to be fighting just well enough, and Vikings in the sky are just punching right on through. So There was the timing, certainly, that PattyMac had, but Vindicta holds on well enough. The sneaky Raven with the shutdown, more than enough here, and Vindicta holds on.
He does. There is a DT on the third base, but the big fundamental moment of that fight, or the fundamental important thing, there was a lot of important things. The Raven obviously was very beneficial. No extended thermal lance and +2 weapons were not done. Now we see the disruptors. They're going to get jumped on. PattyMac loses those disruptors. Very unfortunate loss. He does overcommit into the natural, and a great force field, really kind of bottling up these units. But PattyMac, he needs to kind of crush this army. He needs to clean it up in its complete, well, in its totality, I would say. The only thing that's, well, not the only thing, one of the things that's a bit of a problem for Vindicta is that his 2-2 upgrades were started very late. So he actually, even though he's ahead in army supply, he's got the initiative right now, and he's recently knocked out this fourth base of his opponent. I mean, PattyMac is in a playable position right now if he can find one good fight.
Yeah, it's funny, I keep looking at what I'm seeing on screen. You know, Vindicta dropping everywhere, getting all these probes, knocking down Colossus, and doing all these things, and you're like, wow, you know, Vindicta should be in a massive position, and he is in a good position, don't get me wrong. But then you look at this, you're like, well, it's not as bad as it could be. PattyMac is still on the ropes. He's still down in economy. He's still down in army supply. He really has had his tech reset. But I kind of expected to see Vindicta just run across the map and win the game there. So
yeah,
the fact that PattyMac prevented that from happening, bottling up his opponent, as you said, some really nice force fields, he's got a lot to do. He's got to hit some massive disruptors, maybe some big zealot run-bys, good DD play, but any game you have a chance to win is better than having lost it already.
Oh, absolutely. And he will jump in on top of these Liberators. Will lose one of these Stalkers, but just one. Meanwhile, in the natural, a little bit more damage coming on in. This could have been so much worse. I will say I think I would have preferred PattyMac to go for the +3 attack instead of the +1 armor, but the +1 armor will, of course, be a little bit cheaper and will finish a fair bit faster. And it means that the relevance of a second forge being added on is going to be good. Vindicta scans the fourth base. We'll see gases coming down. It doesn't see the army itself. And PattyMac has transitioned completely out of the Colossi. He isn't caring too much about them at this point, so he's still not added on that extended thermal lance. He wants to try and hit some sneaky disruptors in the middle of the map, but I mean, with the sensor towers where they are, it's going to be pretty impossible to sneak up on this army.
And Steadfast, the thing that has me worried here, that this style that PattyMac is going for, charge lot disruptors, blink, heavy gateway units, is a style you want to play when you're up at least one base on the Terran. Preferably two, you're up 15 workers, you're playing like a Zerg. You have the economy and you have the production, you're on like 15 gateways, because you will not trade cost effectively. This army, especially as we move into heavy ghost counts into 3-3, this army struggles to trade cost effectively. So you want to expand. You use this to get map control. And because, well, PattyMac, he's down 5 workers right now. He's been down pretty heavily in his economy for quite a while. He's building this army that is not meant to win, that is not really able to win one fight. You know, it's going to have to win 2 or 3 and off the reinforcements. And I don't think he has the money to do that.
No, he's going to have to kind of just pray that these disruptors can get massive shots. That was a bit of a weird Guardian Shield. Vindicta was already retreating from the fight, so not much reason to cast that. And he still has energy for another one, but Guardian Shield can be a really big deal, and you do want to make sure that you're available to do so. There we go. PattyMac fires up the 3-2, but there is going to be a really strong timing for Vindicta. Unless PattyMac, I think, chrono boosts these upgrades like for their entire duration, it's going to be at least a 30-second timing where it's going to be 3-3 versus 2-1. And that is something where PattyMac just cannot fight.
Yeah, that becomes really awkward. But if PattyMac can start to drag this game around the map, as he's doing right now a little bit, you know, really didn't lose anything, got that drop down. If he can put armies on the left side and the right side, and anytime Vindicta moves out, he has DTs and charge lots into bases. That does do a good job of prolonging this game, of giving PattyMac the opportunity to get into 3-2 and all of these wonderful things. And credit to PattyMac, you know, his upgrades, they're slower, but he took a lot of damage, but he is just about maxed out. But again, the problem we were talking about, he has to be able to remax, and he's not there yet.
Yeah, no, exactly. He will have to be able to reinforce more effectively. He does have Blink done for his DTs, by the way, and they are going to be +3 DTs pretty soon. 8 DTs ready to go. Okay, disruptor shots need to be big. fires 3 of them out from max range. Vindicta going to be electing to use tanks and liberators in combination to try and deal with this. Nice EMPs on this army. Disruptor shots are decent. Not great, though. And I think all the disruptor shots are actually on cooldown right now. Oh, DT's going to try and blink it on top of this army to cause some issues. Actually, yeah, this is really interesting. He's using the DTs in the army. Disruptor shots are going to be decent. Liberators not sieging up right away, but they will get some good shots. A huge disruptor shot on the tail end, but there is just so much stuff for Vindicta, and this was the timing where it was 3-3 versus 2-1. So even with PattyMac creating a lot of chaos, Vindicta loses so much, PattyMac loses so much. Big disruptor shot does connect, but it's not going to be enough, I don't think. Vindicta, yeah, I think these liberators are a little bit too effective for him right here.
Yeah, PattyMac may be able to clear this army out. We're not seeing the reinforcements come across the map from Vindicta, but that's because he's, first of all, a lot of his army is still at home, and Zealots get on top of this army. Stalker's blowing on top of the Liberators. So yeah, you know, PattyMac cleans this up. But that's primarily because a good portion of Vindicta's army was on Vindicta's side of the map. He's getting a Liberator range. He's getting a 5th base. He's getting all these other things. It's a lot. They cost money, but they're not immediate army supplies. So again, he's kind of staying back, staying defensively a little bit, but again, we said, anytime you're alive is a good time. So PattyMac, he's got his 3-2 now. He has the DTs. He is developing things a little more. It seems like Liberator is outside. Okay, Liberator outside of the natural, and now we see that. Well, actually, that's not even Lib range. It's just Liberator outsieges the Stalkers for a second.
Yeah, it was a bit of a nuisance. PattyMac did realize he could deal with it. More probes going down at the top side. We do see PattyMac with a little bit of oversaturation on his gases, and he was able to stabilize, got the cleanup, but now we see Vindicta once again realizing a significant army supply lead. He doesn't actually have a lot of stuff here, and he's got to be careful that he doesn't get his army segmented. It did get a little bit separated off. There's no detection here for PattyMac, so he wasn't able to punish it too much. Disruptors do get some decent shots to open things up, but PattyMac he is falling further and further behind. No +3 armor, still needs to fix up this saturation a little bit. DTs on the left side tried to find this base, but weren't able to do so. PattyMac is really doing his darndest to create chaos, but it hasn't had enough of an effect on this game yet.
Yeah, and Vindicta's at a comfortable enough position at this point that we're getting the upgrades that you don't really get. You know, the super late game. I guess I got money. I'll make this. So we have, medevacs are going to be faster coming up soon. They boost a little bit longer, and this actually is funny because this upgrade is up. Actually, PattyMac on the bottom left side is going to try to bust this planetary right on down, seeing Vindicta out of position. But it's +3 Stalkers. The repair is going to be so good. And yeah, he tries to. He doesn't even get that. He doesn't. He didn't get an SCV. Did not kill any economy here. And meanwhile, Liberators, I assume, it seems like Liberators on another base, they're not getting enough. Well, actually, they are getting damage. That's dead planetary. That is so many dead DTs in the exchange. And even when PattyMac finds value, it's not valuable enough.
Yeah, that was a huge net win in the context of the game. All those DTs going down for the cost of the base. It's very good for Vindicta in this situation because now he can just move across the map. He doesn't have to worry about those blink DTs anymore. It is just the disruptors. That's the only thing that can give PattyMac even a 5% chance in this game, is if they get full shots, and that is just it's just not going to happen. GG gets called. Vindicta takes a very scrappy, messy game, and he will go up 1-0.
Yeah, it's shout out to PattyMac for not dying. I guess is how we put that up, because what was that? 7 minutes into 7 minutes into that game, it was kind of a dead PattyMac, and then he lasted another, what was that? Another 12 minutes. You know, he did a good job of sustaining and expanding away from his opponent and counterattacking where he could, and all these things that are just core to playing a good game of StarCraft. But when you lose 24 probes and don't really get much in the exchange, I mean, it's a hard game to crawl yourself back from.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult. Vindicta just kind of played better in the overall sense. Mm-hmm. Like, there was constant harassment. PattyMac was unable to deal with it as cleanly as I think you need to at a lot of stages. And Vindicta just constantly kept the aggression on. It was That was a decent showing from PattyMac, though, considering how bad of a position he was in. He was able to really make that game weird. And I especially thought that one big fight in the middle where he brought in the Blink DTs, he almost made enough chaos in that fight for the disruptor shots to get like 40 or 50 supply and then just wipe the Terran army.
And imagine, you talked about it as the fight was happening. Imagine if he hit with 3-2. Because at that point, the DTs were not one-shotting Marines. They were down upgrades, they were down armor up, or they didn't have as much attack upgrades as the opponent had armor, so they're not one-shotting. And then 10 DTs, they're not, rampaging through the Terran army. They are taking multiple swipes. They're not getting nearly as much damage done. And you're right. Even with that, he almost found enough value, but unfortunately, he did not. And now we're going to move into a map that I think probably favors Vindicta. It's going to be Gresfon. It's going to be this big game. And if there's one thing that Vindicta's good at, it is probably that late game, at least against Protoss players. So Steadfast, we're going to find out. Do we go to game 3? Do we? Is it Vindicta that's just moving on to that final day? Well, game 2's here. And in the upper left, in the blue, down a game, but he held on oh so long. PattyMac.
And his opponent spawning down on the bottom right for the Platinum Heroes, looking to punch his ticket to tomorrow's Do or Die Sunday. It is Vindicta. Now, I want to expand on the point you were talking about with the Blink DTs, because people might not be aware of this. If you're like a math guy, a numbers guy, you'll have a decent idea of what he's talking about. So DTs, the way that they function is they do 45 damage a hit, and they get +5 damage for each attack upgrade. Now, normally, +0 DTs will kill a Marine. That's it, full stop. But once you get +1 armor, they no longer kill it. Same thing once you get combat shields, they no longer kill it. Now, at this point, Vindicta had combat shields, which, as long as you've got 1 armor in combat shields, anything less than +3 on your DTs, and the DTs are not one-shotting the Marines, but once you get that +3 weapons, there is no amount of armor and like HP the Marines can have to prevent being one-shotted. So that did actually make a huge impact, and that's a really great point that you made.
Thank you, Steadfast, and thank you for expanding on that one a little bit more. But that's kind of, there was a time when that was kind of how late game TVP was balanced. We had these big charge lot arc or charge lot DT balls. In fact, it led to a pretty significant change. You used to be, you would have Shadow Stride, the DT blink, and you would just do damage immediately. And that was the thing, and that was used to, many planetarians have died on the altar of immediate damage Shadow Stride DTs. And then they nerfed it. Now it takes, I want to say 0.6, it was like 0.74 seconds, something like that. It used to be just 3/4 of a second, and then they brought it down a little bit to make it nice across like different speeds. But regardless, it does make it a little bit harder, right? The Terran does have some time to react. They hear the blink in, and then they see the blur go in, and then like, okay, I got to drop a scan here. And that already makes that tactic less effective than it would have been a year ago. Couple that with the fact that you're down upgrades, I mean, it just was going to struggle. What do we want to see from PattyMac in this game too? He's opening Phoenix, and given the fact that Vindicta's up 1 and some of Vindicta's more aggressive proclivities, it's actually kind of funny, Steadfast. We talked in the middle of game 1 about how, Vindicta's so good on this aggression, on this 3-1-1 plan. And then on the break, we're talking about how, Vindicta's late game is so good. Why does he lose games if his early game is so good and his late game is so good?
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, players are so impressive at this level of play, and this is still, a ways away from players like Cyril, like Raynor, like MaxPax that we put at the really top tier, like Maru. I mean, even invoking the name, some people will be offended by the concept. But it really comes down to like the little tiny minutia of how you decide to take fights, when you take them. Obviously the macro at this level is usually very good from everyone universally. But you asked the question of what I would like to see from PattyMac. Honestly, exactly this. I want to see him play Phoenix Colossus. I want to see him play Phoenix Colossus. His execution was good in game number 1, but his ability to deal with what am I just barely hello? That's not something I like at all. He's gonna lose the Phoenix.
Oh, he stacked it on purpose.
Why?
You know what it is? Just dodge it.
Yeah, that's even killing the Widowmine for just the damage is not worth it.
Oh,
that
not
is
at all.
That is not worth it at all. So the fact that he went in there and then also lost it to the Viking, that's a really unfortunate way to show the Phoenix. And the Phoenix he didn't know about this. Actually, did he know about the Stargate? No, he saw the Stargate here earlier. What am I saying? Yeah, he got in with the Hellion. My bad. Yeah, and they lifted the Hellion. What am I saying? Still, that is not how you want that to go. And now PattyMac actually supply blocked while trying to build an Immortal. Couple of things going less than ideal.
The question though, Steadfast, how do you feel about Vindicta going Raven into Phoenix that he know exists? Yes, you got one, and that makes the power of them a little bit less, but it's hard. If you are not Maru, if you're not, I don't know, Oliveira, you're not Beyond, something like that, Ravens are light units. They take double damage from a bunch of Phoenix shots. I mean, because again, it's 2 shots. And it is and Ravens, of course, faster than Marines. It's so hard to get the Raven onto the other side of the map. And okay, there's detection now. At least there's revenge on the Widowmines.
Yeah, even 2 Widowmines for a Phoenix is not really worth it. Now, some Terrans, some Protoss would argue like, no, I'll trade 2 Phoenix for a Widowmine any day because of what the Widowmine can potentially do. But I don't know. I would much rather have the Phoenix still alive and the other one at full HP, because he actually took a little bit damage on another one. We are going to have to see. Oh, this is interesting from Vindicta. He's getting a 3rd turret to deal with this. I don't know that I like that. I feel like that's a pretty big commitment, a pretty big expense early on.
I mean, this is the 3rd command center timing is telling us that Vindicta, while he is going to go for the stim +1 combat shield timing, he's not going to commit to it as hard as maybe he did in game number 1, right? You take that much quicker 3rd base. So from that perspective, the missile turret, that 3rd turret, is just primarily there to defend this 3rd base, to make sure that does not get delayed for forever. And I guess from that perspective, right, because you already are going to be, a slightly less aggressive. It's Crestfon, it's a little bit harder to do, but here it doesn't matter because the Raven's going to get the shutdown once again. How did that get its way onto the other side of the map with all these Phoenix here?
He just wasn't in position here. We are going to see the lifts coming on in on top of the Marines, and the Colossus does survive. The force fields were good, and the Immortal got a lot of damage. PattyMac kind of crushes this push, even without the Phoenix initially, and now he's going to run down just about everything. PattyMac is in a ridiculously good spot, and this is kind of why I wanted to see him go for Phoenix Colossus. Very nice move from Vindicta towards the tail end to try and trap against those with the mines against the Phoenixes, but good job from PattyMac to make sure he does not lose out there.
Oh, look at this. PattyMac, the moment he survives against the first push, you could go into the mid game. You could get more Colossus, maybe with disruptors, all of these fun Protoss units. PattyMac, he's got 2 Stargates. He's got a fleet beacon on the way. He's got to make that, seems like that carrier transition. I can't imagine this is for like mass Annie Pulse Crystal Phoenixes, something like that. There's no way.
It could be, he could still get the upgrade, and with the number of Phoenixes he has, it would still be worth it. But yeah, this has got to be a transition into carriers. Nice job able to pick off 4 SCVs and gets the mines as well, which does make it difficult for these Phoenixes to maneuver around. Overall, yeah, this is such a great position here for PattyMac. And there it is. There's the carrier transition starting on up. We've got a 4th Nexus on the way. This is the other reason that I was hoping PattyMac would go for this specific setup, the Phoenix Colossus, is because it can transition so well into carriers. And if you're not feeling great about your mechanics, or if you're not feeling, overall confident, carrier after, getting a lead is such a great way to close out a game.
And this map is, I'm of 2 minds of this, because on the one hand, this map is so big that you can get away with it. It's so hard for the Terran to run across. There are so many bases that even if you do lose one, you can kind of expand away and buy the time. On the flip side, though, this does make it a little bit harder to defend all of your bases, because look at PattyMac's composition right now, right? He's got 3 Colossus, he's got a Disruptor, he has, 21 supply, 18 supply, of carriers in production. And from all that, like, from all of that being said, that is a significant amount of supply in a very small amount of units. So as the game goes later and you start to try to take more and more of this map, and again, Gressvon is incredibly spread apart. It's going to be really hard for him to withstand the much more supply efficient, or the much more supply efficient bio that is going to be able to move on the left side, the right side, the front and the back, and start to try to tear PattyMac apart.
Yeah, and that's why I'm such a big fan of the way that PattyMac has set up this big cannon shield battery kind of bulwark on the top side. I'd love to see him add a little bit more even. He's already got some in the third, got a cannon in the shield battery, the entrance to the natural as well. This is going to help him out a lot. Observer does spot this one Widowmine trailing behind the army. EMP does come on in, somehow didn't hit the Observer, so he does have to drop the scan. And this is kind of funny. We got a couple of SCVs trailing in behind trying to repair those medevacs, I think. But carriers are already out. No +2 air weapons is less than ideal. Phoenixes are going to need to get back into position. Where are they right now?
Yep.
Okay, they're just behind the army.
Okay, Steadfast. You were talking about how this was going to be for repair, and I don't know if this was Vindicta's plan or not, but I was going to make a joke about missile turret pushes. It's happening. So this does make life a little bit more interesting as the EMPs blanket this entire thing. And yeah, the missile turrets are not going to go up, but look at the interceptor count. It's already very low. It's only 21, 19 remaining. But PattyMac did get the tanks. Meanwhile, on the other side, big Zealot run by here. It's going to actually Ghost stays alive, but it's going to force PattyMac, or it's going to force Vindicta back. He can't take fights on both sides, not against an army that requires so much micro to fight well against, as this army that PattyMac has.
Exactly, and the Zealots are really kind of the MVP of this little segment of the game, because yeah, forcing the army back home is really nice. Will allow PattyMac to finish up his +2 ground weapons. Now, if PattyMac had started that +2 air weapons right away, it would be finishing right about now. But unfortunately, he's just now started it. So it's not going to be as powerful of a carrier setup as you'd like to see. But the interceptors have been almost fully replenished. More carriers have hit the field. And Vindicta is not adding on more upgrades. Not just yet. He is only on 1-1. I'm a little bit worried about Vindicta right here. He's in a frighteningly all-in state.
He is. Now the Zealot's going to run forward again. EMPs are just massive here. So there's really not a lot on the ground at first, but the Colossus and the Disruptors are forcing Vindicta back even more. We look at the interceptor count, it's about half of what it was. And the other thing we need to talk about, look at how Vindicta's staying on the edge, Steadfast, because in part of the carrier changed. If he runs too far forward, the Marines, they're going to target the carriers. And that's, in a fight like that, you don't want that. You will not burst through those carriers, not enough time to really have it be worthwhile. You want to pair away at the interceptors, you want to win that fight, and then you want to dive on top. So the micro for Vindicta, and actually I was really excited to see how this fight was going to happen, because I don't think I've seen a carrier versus Marine fight since the change. It makes life much more complicated, even more complicated than it once was, for Vindicta to micro against this, because again, you have to pull the interceptors away from the carriers so your Marines will actually target them.
Yes. The thing is, that looked like it wasn't that bad of a fight for Vindicta, but it was actually a very... This was a fight that has put him into an awful position in this game. We've got now a very successful situation for PattyMac, and the reason that Vindicta, despite some good micro, wasn't able to do anything beyond killing off a bunch of interceptors, there were still 3 Colossus with +2 under that army, and I mean, that was just too much. We are going to see a couple of Vikings actually getting found here. I think that was 2 Vikings for free. Vikings... I mean, at this point, there's actually just nothing that deals with carriers effectively. 7 Vikings is not enough against this carrier count. We've got +2 ship weapons now completing for these carriers. I think PattyMac can just A-move him, to be honest. I really don't see what Vindicta can do.
It's funny, I keep looking at those fights. I'm like, man, the Widowmines, they get all the stuff on the ground. EPs are fantastic. And then you realize, yeah, there are 3 Colossus under these carriers. And at this point, we're looking at 12 carriers with +2, and the Viking count, it's only single starport Viking. It's just not enough here. EMPs, again, they're on the Archons. They're doing really great, but there are so many more interceptors than there are Marines at this point in Vindicta. I mean, he's kiting backwards. He's doing as good as he can, but the moment they need to target the tank down to bring the Colossus into the fray. And there we go. The tank is dead. The Marines are falling down. It's a 50 supply lead And Vindicta, PattyMac, they give us the game 3 that we have just been looking for as we play this penultimate day.
Yeah. And I mean, this was not a good situation for Vindicta for a lot of this game. And that's the kind of game that can actually, if you're frustrated with Protoss, which I know that Vindicta, he gets annoyed with playing against Protoss, losing a game to Carrier Colossus or Phoenix Colossus into Carrier, that might have just won PattyMac the series. I'm not gonna say that, but I will say it is the kind of thing that I know a lot of Terran players get frustrated about, and I know Vindicta is a player that can get frustrated by that. So for many reasons, that was a good decision to go for that Carrier play from PattyMac.
Yeah, Steadfast, that's fair. But this is gonna be Royal Blood. For map number 3, this is a much better Terran map. And if I'm a betting man, as I pull up what our vetoes were, if I'm a betting man, I'm going to assume, yeah, Gressvon was PattyMac's map pick. Like, he wanted that big game. He wanted that expansive game. If there was a map that was maybe going to be a little bit harder for the Terran, it was going to be that map. So, yeah, might Vindicta have gotten a little bit tilted off that? Maybe, sure. You know, anyone can. But you're moving into Royal Blood. Like, you're moving into a map that has some really strong tank positions, some really powerful pushing positions. And that is certainly something that Vindicta can look to console himself with as we move into this last game here on our second to last day of the group stage.
That is true. And let's get into it here. Royal Blood going to be the match. I will say, as we get into it, this is also a good map for going Phoenix Colossus into Carriers. But we'll see. We'll see if that's what happens, and we'll see if this gentleman can deal with it. Spawning up at the top right for the Platinum Heroes, it's Vindicta.
And in the bottom left, looking to survive, move on, PattyMac.
Yeah, that was... I mean... There are certain players that just struggle against certain styles, and there's definitely a bit of a mental block that can emerge. So I think, like I said, I would really like to see PattyMac go for something like that again. This time, though, Vindicta is going to mix things up a little bit, at least with the opener. Will be a double gas opening this time. And he's going to try and maybe put on some pressure, or he's thinking that PattyMac might do something like this, which is the patented PattyMac opener. Double gate before expansion, gonna be probably chrono boosting out 4 adepts. Not chrono boost on all of them, but the funny way that PattyMac does it is he saves up chrono boost and goes for those adepts behind this. Now, the cost of this build is the probes. You cut a couple of probes to go for this, and your Nexus is just a little bit later, but it does have teeth to it.
Yeah, certainly. And if you're not aware of it, if you're not ready for it, it's one of those things that will mess you up. It's kind of funny, right? It's the max packs, or sorry, I guess the classic variant, right? Because he goes gate at home, gate abroad, except they're just both at home. So that does, while it does take away some of the teeth compared to, again, the max packs or something like that. And man, I just realized I have not cast anyone playing the max packs build for probably a solid 6 months. It just feels like it's totally fallen out of the meta. But again, what it lacks in aggressive option, you have both your gateways at home. So when the Terran eventually breaks out, when that happens, you're not suddenly short half your production. So you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, I think part of the reason that the Max Packs fell out of style is that there were very few players playing it. Basically, it was pretty much just Max Packs. A few players would do it. It happened a couple of times in GSL. I know that Parting utilized that build, and that was pretty cool. But the double gas opener dealt with the Max Packs extremely well, especially when you went for this like high ground command center. And similar to the Max Packs, the double gas is going to be very good against this quick 4 adept play. Now, Widow Mines, oh, if PattyMac can bait this out with the correct timing. Okay. Okay, he's not able to force the shot out. Good job from Vindicta to get the unburrow. Now, if PattyMac could execute this perfectly and target down the Widow Mine when he goes for that, that would be pretty amazing. He's a little too late. Yeah, he's not going to be able to find this, not initially at least, but if he can get this when the 4 adepts show up, this could still become a real problem for Vindicta.
I almost want to see Vindicta pull an SCV and repair this Widowmine. Like, that seems really weird. Who repairs a Widowmine? But when this Widowmine is kind of the difference between Vindicta being able to do a good job of holding on to his base and not, and as you talked about, the Unburrow and the Reburrow, it will continue to take damage. Well, I would like to see that, but for now, they're gonna... Oh, he misses it again. This is such a slim timing that PattyMac is looking for.
I think Vindicta actually retargeted the mine there.
Oh, did he?
I think he might have done. Now the sneaky siege tank setup, and he's going to be able to. Okay, well, good job from PattyMac. He gets out of here. Only loses, well, actually only loses shields. So good defense, good quick pull away. Now behind this, we are going to be seeing 4-gate blink coming in from PattyMac. That is something that I do not think of when I think of PattyMac. So I'm really interested to see how his execution is going to look while he goes for this.
And this is disgusting coming out of PattyMac here. I love it. It's, you have pressure on. You force your opponent to sit very defensively, which means they will not get a scout off. You really don't get to see what the follow-up is now the adepts, they try to shade forward, and hey, they're going to shade up. They're looking for the friendly fire on these Marines, but the tank on siege is well done. Vindicta, even still, he's going to lose all of his Marines here. He's going to lose a couple SCVs, and this is... I mean, he's making the best out of a bad situation, but oh wait, never mind. There was no target fire there from PattyMac. He did not target anything down. He tried to move command them away, and the body block steadfast were very, very nice. So I was talking about how this was making the best out of a bad situation, but still it's going to favor PattyMac. Instead, PattyMac gets nothing there.
Yeah, that was really funky. Now, I know exactly what happened. That was not PattyMac being... That was PattyMac trying to do more than he could. So what he was trying to do is he wanted to split his target fire because he saw the one Marine on 1 HP. He's like, okay, I can finish this off and I can split my adepts up in terms of their target fire. And he misclicked a little bit, so he tried to do more and ended up getting way less. But I don't blame him for it because that is what has become kind of the new age of Protoss. We are going to see a big blink forward. Will grab the bunker, and he only loses 1 stalker for it. There are still 2 tanks on the field, but this is a dangerous moment right now for Vindicta. He is going to have to really keep on top of these stalkers.
It really is. He does have that 3rd tank now, so that does shore things up a little bit. Stim is about halfway, 2/3 of the way done, and that's really when you start to hold on to this. But for right now, with the 3 tanks here, yeah, a bunker goes down. You do not want that to happen. Absolutely. It really does a good job of buttressing the natural. But okay, wait, stalkers are going to blink in the natural here. They do get that 1 tank that unlocks a lot of position here for PattyMac on the map, and more importantly, it forces army from Vindicta into the natural, which means that this warp prism, we're going to have to see where it warps in, if it warps in, but even just getting that 1 tank unlocks so much of Vindicta's base for PattyMac.
It certainly can do that, but PattyMac at this point has kind of decided to transition out of this. He's not warping in more stalkers. He hasn't warped them in for a little while. I wouldn't mind seeing him go for a little bit of a cheeky Max Packs play right here, which is where you load up into the Warp Prism with 4 of those stalkers. There we go. That's exactly what we're going to see. And you just kind of try and harass in the back line behind this. And that's something that killing off one of those tanks can really open up for you. Now, Vindicta does have a nicely placed tank of the natural right on the ramp, going to be able to cover pretty much the whole position there. And there is a missile turret in the mineral line. So PattyMac's going to have to be a little bit careful right here. Nice quick pull from Vindicta will mean that he's only going to lose the 1 SCV. Yeah, great defense from Vindicta against this little harass. But PattyMac getting some good value nonetheless, and pushed out in the middle will kind of shove PattyMac back. PattyMac behind this, though, very quick Templar Archives, very quick storm.
And Steadfast, you talk about that Max Specs maneuver. That's really what I was expecting to see out of PattyMac as he kind of moved on to the front. It's like, okay, the warp prism is right outside of the base. I expect to see a warp in there. Wait, did that? Okay, no, warping in a High Templar to get the Raven would have been nice, but he misses the feedback. And now this is 6 kills on this Raven. That's 6 dead probes from a game where PattyMac, you know, he had good tempo, but he really didn't get much economic damage at all. He traded army for army, and if the 4-gate blink does not kill the Terran, as a Terran, that is exactly what you're looking for. Yeah, sure, we'll trade out army for army. My economy's fine, my tech is fine. I kind of have everything I want going into this mid game.
Yeah, and importantly behind this, we see that the Ghost Academy is done, which means that, well, it means that Vindicta has countered his opponent's tech effectively, and it's going to be up to PattyMac to try and find some value. I do like the addition of the Viking here. Wouldn't mind even... Oh, no, he's actually already got the first Viking, so he is going to be on 2 Vikings. EMP on a War Prism plus Storm is... Or EMP on a War Prism plus Vikings is going to make it extremely difficult to get Storm drops in. Now, there is an observer here. PattyMac, he wants to go for this. He is going to try and come in from the flank. Can he get the Storm? It's a huge Storm to start off. The third one is big as well. Zealot's going to jump on top of the tanks. This is looking so good for PattyMac, and Vindicta instantly taps out.